everyone, I am back again. My life is about as unorganized as my uploading schedule. However, I have found some time to actually come and do a video for everyone. And this is one that I've seen that's been requested 1 or 2 times, and that's kind of a review of the 2014 Sochi figure skating scandals and/or controversies that happened during that games. This mostly involves the winner of the women's figure skating singles and claims of voting collusion between the US and Russian figure skating federations. So we're gonna get right into it. So I'm gonna do a quick overview before we get started, particularly just about figure skating in general, as the sport has faced a lot of controversies due to its judging and calculation of scoring. I actually made a video about the big figure skating scandal of the Salt Lake City Games in 2002, where there was voter bribery involved in the judging, so check that out if you're also interested. But due to how the nature of this sport is judged, it really lends itself to controversy. Judges are susceptible to bias, bribery, and pressure from their home state. And when it comes out to handing out scores to some of those home states who may have relations with other home states, and this can also hinder and benefit nations. So unlike running, where whoever is the fastest is the winner, figure skaters have to deal with a lot of people's judgment in order to pick a superior athlete, and those judges, like I said, are susceptible to kind of being manipulated or manipulating who wins. Now, there are good judges out there, but there is also a history, particularly in figure skating, of bad ones. And nations like Russia or the former Soviet Union do have a little bit more history in regards to controversy. So I'm first going to cover allegations of vote swapping for the American and Russian teams. So this is a bit more of a minor scandal in which there were allegations from a French newspaper called L'Equipe that the US and Russian judges were swapping votes in different figure skating events so that the Americans could win ice dancing and the Russians would win the team event. Ironically enough, both those nations won those events, which I don't actually think really helped with the rumors. The Russian would win gold in the team event and the Americans would win gold in ice skating. However, these allegations have obviously been denied by both parties, and nothing else has really come to light since then. And also particularly in regards to the ice dancing, where they kind of favored Canadian couple, Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer. A lot of people thought that they should have won, but they did have a couple mistakes during their routine, which lends to credibility that the American team was actually better and deserved the gold medal. But now on to the more exciting part of this story is actually the outcome of the women's singles event. So Yuna Kim of South Korea would win silver and Russia's Adelina Sotnikova won gold. Now in the short program, the two medalists ranked almost evenly with each other, with Sotnikova getting a 74.64 and Yuna with a 74.92. However, it's the free program where things change, with Sotnikova earning a 149.95 and Yuna earning a 144.19. Now, many saw this as a little fishy, as some of Sotnikova's scores were ranked fairly high above other skaters for similar or the same skills. Again, from interviews and watching the events, it doesn't look like her skills were far and beyond those of the competitors to earn those scores far and above them. This order of kind of the medals seemed to cause a lot of questions to circle around about how Sotnikova could have possibly beaten Kim, when many felt that she was the superior skater and actually did better technically during her skates. Now, these questions included the actual judging system and the judges themselves, and the fact that the Ice Skating Federation keeps the score anonymous so as to hide the identities and nationalities of the judges. Now, one of the big questions circling around this event was the identity of the judges and judging officials, of which there were 3 Russian and 1 Ukrainian. So the Ukrainian judge on the panel was Yuri Baklov, who was actually suspended for only a year after being caught trying to fix the 1998 figure skating in the Olympic Games. Why they would allow him to go back to judging international figure skating after he was caught cheating and trying to fix them is beyond me. The fact that he only got a year off and is still doing that almost 20 years later, it doesn't really make any sense. Another one of the Russian judges was, and now she was a former ice skater herself and is married to this guy, who at the time was the general director of the Russian Federation of Ice Skating. Her career prior to the 2014 games is also seen as to be a little bit controversial itself, as her relationship with her husband can kind of be seen as influential. The fact that she's a judge who judges ice skaters who are under her husband's direction and management is kind of fishy. It's like having a judge who's married to a lawyer. You really don't want to have that kind of relationship established in a court of law. So out of on average 9 to 12 judges that are seen at an international figure skating event, about 4 of them, one of which was convicted of actually cheating prior to this event, really kind of can sway scores in favor of particular nations when you have like a third or a fourth of them being from the same country and judging essentially their comrades or their countrymen. So a lot of people were concerned about the kind of bias and influence of the judges, which lent to controversy about the actual judging, scoring, and system itself. So people wanted to see which judge voted higher than others to see if there was a bias or cheating there. And they wanted to see the breakdown of the scores to understand why Sotnikova could have possibly beaten Yuna. They essentially wanted to see if the 3 Russian and 1 Ukrainian judge tended to score one person higher and one person lower when kind of everyone else had maybe a different opinion of that, to see if there was maybe some kind of swaying of points going on there. And then also too, you can kind of look back and see that there was maybe some motive in order for Russia to kind of maybe tamper with judging a little bit. Now with Sotnikova's win, Russia became the first nation ever to win a gold medal in every figure skating event, cementing them as one of the best figure skating nations in the world, which Russia has always really strived to be the best at any sports they do regardless. So I mean, it's a decent motive. It's a motive with argument. Now, with all of this swirling around in international media, the International Skating Union later issued a statement that all the rules were followed and there was no foul play, essentially. Also, if someone wanted to protest, they would have had to file one, and they would have had to do it 30 minutes after the event, which for future reference was on February 21st. However, the Korean Olympic Committee would later file an official complaint with the ISU's disciplinary committee in regards to the judging. They demanded that a more thorough investigation take place into the panel of judges and re-look at the event. They believe that there was some tampering and/or corruption within the judging panel, and this was done on April 10th. Now, this was shot down only 4 days later by the ISU Disciplinary Committee because the complaint was essentially unfounded and not directed at anyone or anything in particular that needed to be investigated. So April 30th, another complaint was filed by the Korean Olympic Committee, specifically against a judge and the Figure Skating Federation of Russia, and the judge being Alla. Now, part of this complaint actually included a hug that was shared by the gold medalist and herself after the event. So they obviously kind of knew each other. Now, I haven't really heard a whole lot of stories of figure skaters giving out hugs after a competition to someone who judged said competition or having any real personal relationship with them, which was the big cause for concern, that they had a personal relationship and this would have affected how the judge saw her performance. The IOC later dismissed this complaint, basically saying that her marriage had nothing to do with it and the skater initiated the hug. So no rules were broken by responding to it. The Korean Olympic Committee were then going to protest with the Court of Arbitration for Sport later in 2014, but I haven't heard any updates since then, and I don't think it actually went through at all. So after these results were released, many notable figure skaters gave their opinions on the event. Now, this included Katriana Witt, who's regarded as one of the greatest women's figure skaters of all time, in which she said, "I'm stunned by this result. I don't understand the scoring." An American figure skater named Michael Wise also said, "Couldn't disagree more that Yuna and Sotnikova basically had the same component marks in both short and long. Home field inflation." Also, an American figure skating judge who judged figure skating at the Olympic Games 7 times stated, "No fair judge could have awarded Sotnikova higher marks in choreography, performance, execution, and interpretation of the music." Now, these are mostly Western opinions who might side with Yuna over Sotnikova because the latter is Russian. And there is like this subconscious bias for a lot of people in the West, particularly Americans, to disagree with Russia no matter what. Also, if you check YouTube videos of the performances, you will see that in the comments, the majority of the general population does believe that Yuna shouldn't have won and that she was robbed. So, you know, they must all be right. So a score sheet that later came out about the event showed that one judge, not mentioned or named due to anonymity rules, ranked Sotnikova a +3 grade of execution for all except 2 of her elements, while also giving Kim a +0 grade of execution for some of the same skills. From what I can tell from watching the videos, they were executed very similarly, so I don't necessarily understand how someone could have such a higher grade of execution than the other. There was also another Russian skater who was given the same +3 scores on execution, whereas other people in her rankings were not given the same scores. So it wasn't just the gold medalists. There were other Russian competitors who seemed to have an edge over the rest of the competition. There's also mention of footwork requirements where Yuna and an American skater met the requirements for what's considered a level 4, but were downgraded, whereas Sotnikova didn't meet those requirements for a level 4, but was able to keep it, which I'm sure did influence the scores. Now, I will mention here, I am not a figure skating judge. I don't know too much about how you judge figure skating, so there may be nuances to a jump or to a trick that I don't necessarily understand that can affect the scores. This is just coming from people who know about figure skating and who have written about it in articles I was able to find. Now, amongst all of that, there are some scores and calculations I don't really understand, but from what I can gather, it's a fairly tough one to break down. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Claims are claims. However, with Russia's long history of kind of walking the ethical line when it comes to sports, I wouldn't put it past them to kind of do something like this. Although I have mentioned some skaters and judges who disagree with the final medal podium, there are some who actually agree with it. The New York Times actually released an article where they broke down technically everything that happened and compared kind of like the top 10 medalists, particularly Kim and Sotnikova. They stated that Sotnikova's was technically a little bit more superior, whereas Yuna's was a little more artistically superior. So it's a divisive decision. Scoring-wise, they were kind of neck and neck in the short program, but Sotnikova really pushed ahead in the free skate, where obviously most of the controversy lies. So can I say that Yuna was robbed? I'm not really sure. Yes, the Russians are always fishy, and there are some things that line up a little too straight, like the hug at the end of the event or the reasoning for certain scorings, but they did have a really similar score for the short program. And if you're basing it on the gold, and if you're basing the gold medal on technicality of skating, Sotnikova, I feel like, is a winner, but if you're basing it more artistically, I feel like Yuna is probably the winner. So anyone who has more figure skating knowledge than me, let me know and tell me your opinions on why you think maybe it should be different or maybe it should remain the same. Basically, all I can say is, who knows? And it's far enough along now that nothing is probably going to change. And with that, that is the conclusion of the 2014 Olympic figure skating minor controversies. Is definitely not as big as the 2002 Salt Lake City one. So unfortunately, I have no solid answer for you. So you'll have to make up your own minds as to who is probably the winner, should be the winner, should remain the winner. Let me know in the comments. So thanks for watching. I'll hopefully be back with another video soon, and let me know if there's anything you would like me to cover, because the inspiration is lacking somewhat. Hopefully with the upcoming Winter Olympic Games, I'll be able to pump out some more content for you guys. So thank you very much for watching and sticking around. I hope you enjoyed.